The tragic downfall of the Klor family. A tale of control, betrayal, and violence. Hold on, don't move. I need air. I know, don't move. I don't want to die. We're going to take care of you, okay? Make me alive. These were the haunting final words of a 16-year-old girl, the third of 4 victims murdered by the very man she once called her dad. To the outside world, the Klor family appeared to embody the American dream. Successful, beautiful, and seemingly perfect. But beneath the polished surface lay a storm of secrets, manipulation, and simmering rage. When their facade finally cracked, it wasn't just a family that fell apart. It was a tragedy beyond imagination. James Craig Klor, the patriarch, seemed to have it all. With a 6-figure salary and a stable career, he provided his family with a life most could only dream of. His wife, Karen, embodied the quintessential housewife and supermom, managing the household and raising their 3 children, Emily, Lauren, and Sean. The Klor kids, with their straight-A report cards and local sports stardom, seemed to thrive under their parents' guidance. From the outside, they were everything a family was supposed to be, or so it seemed. Or so. Rewind the clock, and you'll uncover the sacrifices and silent struggles that built their picture-perfect life. Karen had given up her dream of earning an engineering degree to marry Craig and support his ambitions. The couple tied the knot in December 1985 and moved to Colorado, where Craig's promising career began. At the time, Karen was still in her 2nd year of college, but chose to drop out to focus on their marriage and Craig's career, a decision she embraced wholeheartedly to create a happy life together. In April 1991, Karen gave birth to their first child, Emily, marking a major milestone for the family. Craig's career flourished, and Karen devoted herself to being a stay-at-home mom. However, Karen's mother, Pat, noticed unsettling signs. Even after just having a baby, Karen seemed to prioritize Craig's needs over her own, as if she wasn't living for herself anymore. In 1992, Craig's career brought the family to Greenville, Texas, where they welcomed their 2nd daughter, Lauren, in 1993. On the surface, the Klors had it all: professional success, a loving family, and 2 thriving daughters. Emily, the eldest, was a smart and creative pleaser who excelled in school and music. Lauren, more athletic and independent, struggled with ADD but shone in sports and band. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Craig's relentless pursuit of perfection began to take a toll on the family dynamics. One significant source of conflict was Craig's desire for a 3rd child. Karen felt their family was complete, but Craig's persistence led to a written agreement. Karen consented to having another baby on the condition that Craig undergo a vasectomy afterward. In March 1999, their son Sean was born, and Craig honored the agreement. The family eventually settled in Weatherford, Texas, where Craig's career continued to rise. Karen adapted once again, immersing herself in the community, joining a local moms group, and becoming its president. She ensured her kids excelled in their activities: Emily in music, Lauren in sports, and Sean as a rising baseball star. From the outside, life seemed idyllic. Yet Craig's obsession with perfection created cracks in the foundation. Lauren, who didn't achieve straight A's like Emily, became a target for Craig's criticism. His need for control extended beyond academics. Colleagues found him arrogant, and he had little respect for women in leadership roles. Despite earning $180,000 a year, Craig was infamously frugal, micromanaging the family's finances. Karen's weekly allowance was strictly monitored, and every receipt was scrutinized. Craig's control didn't stop there. Even their intimate life was rigidly scheduled. Every night at 8:30 p.m., Karen was required to be in bed, regardless of her own desires or well-being. Refusing Craig often led to violent outbursts. Over time, Karen's life became dominated by Craig's demands. Desperate for a sense of autonomy, Karen secretly joined a gym in 2006, funding the membership by baking cakes. She eventually became a personal trainer, excelling at her job and forming friendships. At the gym, she met Sunny, a trainer who offered Karen understanding and companionship. Over time, their relationship deepened into a romantic connection. Craig's reaction to Karen's newfound freedom was surprising. Initially, he encouraged Karen's relationship with Sonny, even buying flowers and sending flirty texts. However, his jealousy and need for control resurfaced. When Craig accepted a new job in Columbia, Missouri, in 2008, he saw it as a way to sever Karen's ties with Sonny. Karen, devastated but compliant, followed him with the kids. In Missouri, Karen tried to rebuild her life, enrolling in university and continuing her fitness career. But Craig's obsessive control intensified, spiraling into a complete invasion of privacy. This toxic dynamic reached its breaking point during a New Year's Eve party in Weatherford, where Karen and Sonny's relationship became publicly apparent. Craig's anger exploded, leading to a violent confrontation that ended with Karen injured on the front lawn. By January 2009, Karen had had enough. She filed for divorce, a decision that infuriated Craig. Although Karen stayed in the family home initially, she began sleeping in a separate room and continued her relationship with Sonny. Craig's obsession grew darker. He monitored Karen's emails, went through her belongings, and followed her to sabotage her time with Sonny. Craig's behavior became erratic at work, where he carried around a family photo album, insisting to colleagues, "Isn't this a happy family? Why doesn't Karen want to be a happy family?" In March 2009, his anger boiled over. Following an argument after a city council meeting, Craig assaulted Karen, leading to his arrest for third-degree domestic assault. Karen moved out, taking the children and a significant portion of their savings, signaling her final break from Craig's control. Craig's life spiraled further. After losing his job and his family, he retreated to his parents' farm in Kansas. There, his obsession with Karen only deepened. He stalked her relentlessly, reading her emails and texts and blaming Sonny for everything. His daughters distanced themselves from him, particularly after one came out as bisexual, a revelation Craig irrationally blamed on Karen. Thanksgiving 2009 marked the final breaking point. Karen planned to gather her children and Sonny to visit her grandmother, Dorothy. But on November 28, 2009, Craig stormed into Dorothy's farmhouse armed with a rifle. In a horrifying spree, he shot Karen, Dorothy, and his daughters, Emily and Lauren. Only Sean managed to escape and call for help. When authorities arrived, the scene was devastating. Dorothy and Lauren succumbed to their injuries, and Karen and Emily were already dead. Craig fled, but was arrested hours later, wandering aimlessly and muttering, "I'm the guy you're looking for." During his trial, the jury rejected Craig's plea of insanity, instead finding his actions premeditated and calculated. Sean, the sole survivor, bravely testified against his father, recounting the harrowing events. In the end, Craig was sentenced to death, a punishment he accepted without remorse. Sean, now orphaned, has shown remarkable resilience, building a life that stands as a testament to hope and survival. The story of Karen, Craig, and their tumultuous relationship began many years before their marriage ultimately unraveled. Their marriage had started like many others, full of hopes and dreams. But slowly, over time, those dreams began to fade under the weight of Craig's increasingly possessive and controlling behavior. Karen, once a devoted wife, found herself trapped in a cycle of fear and resentment, while Craig, consumed by jealousy and rage, tried relentlessly to retain his hold over her. But everything changed when Karen, in a desperate attempt to find some semblance of happiness and control over her own life, started an affair with Sonny. She met Sonny at a time when she was already emotionally distant from Craig, and in Sonny, she found someone who offered her the love and attention she had been lacking. It wasn't long before Karen's affair became a public spectacle, with Sonny offering her comfort, solace, and most importantly, the freedom from Craig's oppressive grip. However, Karen's decision to engage in an affair was not without consequences. Craig, devastated by what he perceived as the ultimate betrayal, responded in an explosive manner. One evening, at a social gathering with friends, the tension between the three of them came to a head. In a fit of anger, Craig confronted Karen, accusing her of being unfaithful. His voice was a mixture of rage and hurt, and everyone in the room could feel the intensity of his fury. Karen, however, was resolute in her actions. In a show of defiance, she kissed Sonny in front of everyone, an act that publicly demonstrated her commitment to Sonny over Craig. The host, clearly uncomfortable with the escalating confrontation, asked Karen and Sonny to leave, hoping to end the growing tension. But what happened next was far from over. The fight, fueled by jealousy and anger, moved outside. As the night grew darker, so did the confrontation. The verbal insults and accusations quickly escalated into a physical altercation. Craig, who had been trying to maintain control over the situation, lost all sense of restraint. His anger became so overwhelming that he shoved Karen with such force that she lost her balance and fell to the ground, her head hitting the pavement with a sickening thud. The scene was chaotic as friends scrambled to intervene, but the damage had already been done. Craig, consumed by his violent outburst, stood over her, his rage undeterred by the consequences of his actions. The fallout from this incident was immediate and severe. Karen, despite the clear signs of injury and the emotional toll of the evening, began to reflect on her decisions. For the first time in a long while, she questioned whether she had pushed Craig too far. Deep down, she knew she had to distance herself from him if she was ever going to reclaim any control over her life. She confided in Sonny, expressing her desire for a break from their relationship. But Sonny, sensing the danger Karen was still in, refused to allow her to give up on herself or their future together. She reminded Karen that the issue wasn't with her, but with Craig, his inability to respect boundaries and his increasingly violent tendencies. Karen's internal struggle continued as she weighed her options. It was clear to her now that living with Craig was no longer an option. His behavior had become increasingly erratic and violent, and his obsessive tendencies were impossible to ignore. In late January 2009, Karen made the bold decision to file for divorce. This wasn't a decision she took lightly, as it meant the end of her marriage and the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter. Although she didn't immediately leave their home, Karen began to sleep in a separate room, signaling to Craig that their relationship was, for all intents and purposes, over. Even though she was physically separated from Craig, Karen's emotional distance was a process. She continued her relationship with Sonny, despite knowing that Craig would try to sabotage any efforts she made to regain her independence. Craig, ever obsessed with controlling Karen's life, resorted to spying on her. He read her emails, went through her personal belongings, and even collected greeting cards from Sonny, hoping to find some way to hold her accountable for what he perceived as betrayal. Each time Karen planned a meeting with Sonny, Craig would follow, attempting to disrupt their time together, knowing that his possessive jealousy knew no bounds. His obsession with her every move only escalated, creating a toxic environment that only drove Karen further away. Craig's behavior wasn't limited to his personal life. At work, his strange actions became increasingly noticeable. He began carrying around a photo album, showing it off to coworkers and repeatedly asking, "Isn't this a happy family? Why doesn't Karen want to stay in this happy family?" His bizarre behavior left those around him feeling uncomfortable, but Craig, blind to the reality of his actions, remained fixated on the idea of controlling his family. The mounting pressure of his failures and inability to cope with his unraveling life pushed Craig further into his own world of delusion and obsession. In March 2009, the situation reached a boiling point. During a city council meeting, Karen was present to support Craig, but what should have been a professional setting quickly turned into another argument. This time, Craig's anger was not just verbal, it turned physical. He assaulted Karen in front of others, and in a desperate attempt to protect herself, Karen called the police. Craig was arrested for third-degree domestic assault. In her statement to the police, Karen described how Craig physically cornered her, blocking her exit and trapping her against a cabinet. She noted how his controlling and violent behavior had become progressively worse over time. Craig, however, denied the assault, claiming that he had only been trying to hug her. But the physical evidence of bruises and marks on Karen's body told a different story. Despite his claims, Craig was arrested, and the severity of his actions became undeniable. After the arrest, Karen took immediate steps to protect herself and her children. She moved out of their home, taking the kids with her, and found a new place across town. But perhaps the most significant step Karen took was withdrawing $50,000 from their shared bank account. This was not just a financial move. It symbolized her decision to break free from Craig's toxic control, to finally take control of her life and the future she hoped to build for herself and her children. The arrest of Craig, a city official, became a media spectacle. His actions, already shocking to those who knew him, were now front-page news. His increasingly bizarre and erratic behavior at work only deepened the public's disbelief. Eventually, the city issued a public statement, claiming that Craig had resigned due to difficult family issues. The truth, however, was far more complicated. Craig had not resigned. He had been fired, and the humiliation of losing his job, his family, and his sense of control was a devastating blow to his fragile ego. The life he had worked so hard to build had come crashing down, and Craig's inability to process these losses drove him to an unhealthy obsession with reclaiming control over the remnants of his life. At this point, Craig retreated to his parents' farm in Kansas, hoping that the distance and physical labor would somehow clear his mind. But instead of finding peace, Craig's obsession with Karen only grew stronger. He couldn't understand why she had left him. In his mind, he had been the perfect husband, providing everything she needed, yet she had walked away. He refused to accept that his controlling, abusive behavior had driven her to the brink. His rage became all-consuming, and his obsession with Karen's every move continued, even from a distance. He stalked her, reading her texts, emails, and anything he could get his hands on, hoping to find something that would justify his belief that she had wronged him. His paranoia reached new heights as he blamed Sunny for everything. He accused Sunny of being the one responsible for Karen's departure, despite the fact that it was Craig's own actions that had pushed her away. Even as his behavior spiraled out of control, Craig remained fixated on the idea of reclaiming what he had lost. He convinced himself that Karen had brainwashed their daughters into turning against him, and as his anger grew, he turned on them as well. Emily, his eldest daughter, had always been more independent, making decisions that Craig did not approve of, such as choosing a college he didn't like. Craig felt betrayed by Emily, seeing it as a personal attack on his authority. He became convinced that Karen had influenced their daughter's choices, further deepening his belief that he was being wronged at every turn. This toxic obsession didn't stop with his daughters. One of his daughters posted on Facebook, revealing that she identified as bisexual. Craig, instead of offering his support and love, saw this as another reason to lash out. His mind, already consumed by rage, saw this as further proof of Karen's influence and control over their children. This marked a new phase in Craig's obsessive behavior. He began to compile an enormous file of evidence against Karen. He gathered over 3,500 pages of supposed proof for his divorce attorney, including screenshots of Karen's private messages with Sunny, notes on every visit she made to him, and even accusations that Karen and Sunny had engaged in sexual activities in front of the children. However, Craig had no physical evidence to support these claims, and his behavior became more and more erratic. In addition to his obsession with Karen and Sunny, Craig's mental state continued to deteriorate. He shared with friends his desire to kill Sunny, but no one took these threats seriously. With abusers, people ignore the signs until it's too late. Craig was still trying to maintain some sense of control, but his behavior was becoming increasingly unpredictable. Despite all of this, there was one person Craig continued to focus on, his son Sean. Unlike his daughters, Sean had not turned his back on him. Craig continued to try and maintain a relationship with Sean, taking him hunting and fishing, spending time with him in an attempt to keep some connection with his son. In a way, Sean represented Craig's last hope, the last piece of his family he had not completely alienated. But as time passed, even that connection began to unravel.